I think I will give you a brief introduction to the UK-HyRES Hub. If you're joining our webinars for the very first time, so it will be helpful for you to know more about our hub. So I'll share my presentation here. Hope you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So UK-HyRES is a hub for research challenges in hydrogen and alternative liquid fuels. We are mainly based at University of Bath, and we are funded by EPSRC for 5 years from 23 onwards. So we are halfway through our funding. So we mainly do low TRL research on hydrogen and alternative liquid fuels. UK-HyRES is one of the biggest energy research hubs in UK, spanning across like 16 universities, more than 60 staff and students, and we have wonderful partnerships across different industries and organizations, and more than 27.1 million in our fundings. And our research, we do research across both the technical and cross-cutting topics, covering hydrogen value chain from production, storage, and distribution, different applications, and alternative liquid fuels like ammonia, methanol. And also, like, not only that, we know that there are issues associated with it. So we are addressing it through our economic theme, environmental, social, and safety groups as well. And we do a lot of collaboration projects between different research groups. And we are very delighted to have a very fantastic group of researchers in our UK-HyRES ECR network. So the ECR network mainly consists of the PhD students and postdocs, and also the early career academics if you are in your first 3 years of your career. So we have different membership categories. So if you're funded by UK-HyRES, you can be a member. But if your supervisor is funded through HyRES, then you can be an associate member. If you are not funded through, or your supervisor is not funded through HyRES, you still have an opportunity to be part of the UK-HyRES ECR network. So you can join us as an affiliate member. So our hub has a lot of activities going on for the ECRs. We have monthly network meetings, webinars like this. We often organize workshops, trainings, industrial visits, and we communicate about the different opportunities for us ECRs relevant in our area. So it's a really very inclusive community of researchers working in the hydrogen and clean energy space across UK. And it's a great platform where you are able to share your research, share your ideas, collaborate, and really expand your research. And as we know, we don't need to do this journey together. It can be quite isolating as easy as sometimes in our research. So this is a platform where you can get a lot of support in your PhD or in your research journey. If you are interested to join in our UK-HyRES ECR network, the QR code is there. You need to fill out the application. So we will go through your application, and if you are convinced that your research is quite relevant to Hub's research areas, we'll be very happy to admit you to our network. So we are having this ECR webinar series for a while. Today's session is on writing a project proposal. And in the next month, the The webinar is on engineering your career, sustainable time management for ECRs. So it'll be the resource person is Professor Rachel Rothman. She's the co-director of UK-HyRES Hub. And I can assure you this is going to be very different from the time management sessions you might have attended. And it will be really useful for us as academics. And if we are thinking about a career in academics, as we get a lot of responsibilities and in a lot of projects, and how can we effectively use our time during in our career. So it will be very helpful to hear from her. So we have the sign up code here. So please sign up for the next webinar. I'll put the link also in the chat. And so I told you that we have research across the entire hydrogen value chain. So if you are interested in collaborating with us, if you have any queries about the hub, please feel free to reach out to us. So our email ID is here. You can look our website also. So please feel free to ask your questions or whatever you would like to know about the hub. Thank you. So I will stop sharing the screen here. And I want to introduce Chris. So this, as you can see, the session is especially for early career researchers. And we know that it's very important for us to write proposals, secure funding to progress in our career. And getting a funding is quite competitive these days, and it is very challenging to write a good project proposal, even if we are very experienced in writing. So there are things that we really need to know so that we can tailor our proposals in a way that we'll be able to secure the fundings. So today we have a very experienced academic having a great track record of securing a lot of fundings to help us, and I would say share his success formula with us. So over the next hour, we'll be hearing from Chris. So Chris is a professor of materials in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at the University of Bath, and is also Associate Dean of Research for the Faculty of Engineering and Design. He specializes in smart materials in his research. We are very delighted to have you with us, Chris. So let's get started.
Yeah,
And
that's
also
great.
just want to inform, sorry, I forgot
Thanks,
to
man.
mention. So we will have time for Q&A after Chris' presentation. So please type your, please drop your questions in the Q&A session. So we will address it after Chris' presentation. Over to you, Chris.
That's great, Sibyl. And you can see my screen and you can hear me
Yeah,
okay?
I can see.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
I can
good.
see your screen.
So thanks everyone for coming. So I'm going to, so I was given a title to write a good project proposal. So this is my own personal perspective. And so, while sometimes you hear sort of professors are successful, I can tell you now I have a lot more failed grant applications than successful ones. But the ones I'm showing today are examples of successful ones, I guess, because that's the obvious thing to do, but also how I tackle writing a proposal. And I'll aim at the last few slides. I'll just go through quickly to finish on at about 12:45 to make sure people have time to ask questions. I think the slides are going to be available afterwards as well. So I think before you start, I think a key point is to read the assessment criteria and read the core criteria. I think certainly I've been guilty of this. It's very easy to just get interested and fascinated by the research you want to do and just make the clear thought that the review will go with you as well. But many applications have distinct criteria that you need to address. So look at that at the start. And near the end or middle way through as well, look at it again to make sure you're not steering off track and you're answering the things that you need to provide. Some applications, for example, require a training plan, Marie Curie, Newton Fellowships, for example. The training score is just as important to the research. But I think as researchers, we get fascinated by the research. If you need a host letter or an industry letter, again, think about that early, because you're only going to need those people to write you letters. And I have a slide, but think about that early rather than focusing on the research and doing the end. But read the assessment criteria. And if it's a call, and if your idea doesn't really fit, for example, if it's maybe clean energy and you have a sustainable chemistry, well, is it really clear energy? It's a sustainable manufacturing method. It's a bit of a stretch. And so if it doesn't fit, you're already maybe a little bit on the back foot. So make sure your idea fits the call as well. And classic criteria of maybe EPSRC. So I took this from the web page. It's the vision, it's the approach, the applicant, the team, resources, and ethics. And so I'm not going to talk about just EPSRC, because there are many calls, many funding opportunities. But I think a general process is sort of the vision, the background, the objectives, work packages, risks, work plan, and budget. And I did have a look at if there were any nice presentations online on how to write a good proposal, and they both said that they all said this is what you need to do. But I think you're all intelligent people, and I think you know that. So I thought, well, what I'll do as a presentation, rather than just saying this is what you need, what is my approach to tackling these points? And so to maybe go through an example with a grant application to see how I've tackled this. I think a key point, certainly thinking of it as a reviewer as well, but a key point, these aren't all separate sections. And so the whole point is that it all needs to be interconnected. So you're telling the referee or the reviewer that you really thought about it. You have a clear vision, the background states what's been done and how this vision is different, the objectives, what you're going to do to get the vision. So it's all interlinking all of these things. And if you're writing it in a short time, very often you'll find that it doesn't all add up. So think about it well ahead and see how all these things interlink to make a coherent overall research proposal. So I'm going to go through each section. So there's quite a lot of words, but don't worry, these slides will be available afterwards. So the vision is important. That's the first thing that the reviewer will see. This is really what the reviewer will see that you're going to do. And it's important, therefore, to get them excited. So I've certainly spent much time crafting the vision statement to get that as clear and as simple as possible. And it needs to be simple. Don't think about making it sound complex. So a clear, simple message about this exciting research that you're going to do. And I think clarity is far more important than complexity. We think we need to impress the reviewers by adding complexity, but very often they may be reviewing more than one proposal in that call, or they may be in a panel where there's multiple proposals. So clarity is far more important than complexity. And have this up front. Very often, sometimes you see proposals where it starts as a story, background, and build up, and what's been done, what hasn't been done, and then the vision is on like page 3. It's not, you need to get them excited straight away. So state the vision very early on in your proposal. What's new? How is this different? How is it exciting? Why does it need to be done now? Why is now the right time? Don't just say it's an urgent need. I mean, so I see papers for a referee. It's all urgent, but clarify that. Are there any policy documents? There's specific data that's come out. The need, and also, again, in your vision, what is the outcome? Is it new knowledge, which is absolutely fine, isn't it? But is there wider benefits to society and the economy? And certainly, the hydrogen theme with HyRES, there are clear environmental and economic benefits. If it's a fellowship, it may also be a little statement on why you are the best person to do this research, or maybe also why the host as well. Every call is different, but certainly some sort of vision aim. So this is my vision for prospect. So it's about porous materials. So it's related to a specific core advanced materials energy. So I state that up front as well. And the vision is to use pores in these smart materials to get better properties. It's not a defect, it's something that can improve. So it's developing modeling tools, but also to make the materials. And so my vision is to develop modeling tools and manufacturing process for the controlled design of these porous materials. It'll then lead to better applications. And so then I can produce these materials with improved performance and reduced processing time. So I think I took quite a long time to make this as clear as possible. And that was right up front in my proposal. And then the background, well, the background is then often following is the context to this vision. So what is the global context? What is the big picture in a way to this sort of vision? Identify the gaps, what is missing, what is failing in the current knowledge or current technology. So what is the problem that you're going to solve in a way? So the background doesn't have to be just a literature review. I think it's a bit deeper than a literature review and more focused in a way, and summarize previous research and maybe what it's attained and you know, maybe what you're going to do that's going to be better. Explain why it's urgent and timely. You can put that in here, as I've mentioned before, and outline a little bit about what your approach is going to be to build on this background work to date. And end your background, that's what I do, clearly stating what the proposal. So it's not just a literature review. So you need to balance between showing that you've know the literature and the current state of the art and how you will go beyond. So this is the scientific background to this project. So I outline why porosity can be improved, and I outline that this has already been demonstrated to some extent, and some of this is my own work as well. So if you can link it there, that's even better. It's showing that you're a leader in this area. But I outlined that the existing models are simplistic and can't capture some of the underlying detail to really optimize the materials. And also then that will allow me to design better materials using these new models. And so the models are there, but they're limited. I'm going to produce better models that allow all these properties to be improved. And then the other background, well, I need to model them, but I also need to make them. So again, there are ways to make these materials, but they have limitation. And so again, I'm going to develop processes to produce a high degree of alignment, which is necessary in these materials. So it's a bit of a literature review, but also you're also selling your project as well, and what are the outcomes as well. So I think it's very easy just to think it's just a summary of existing work. So you can try and craft it in that way. This is the way that I do it. Lots of people do it in different ways. And then you have your vision, you have your background and how you're building on that. So how are you going to achieve the vision? And so you think about then objectives, and these objectives obviously think about how they help you reach your aims and requirements. And ideally they can be measurable and tangible, and certainly think about ahead now how they map onto the work packages that you're going to outline in your research. So you've got to think back to the vision and forward to the work packages. So really, so for example, on prospect, objective is to develop the modeling tools, for example. Objective 2 is to make them to the requirements based on the modeling. 3 is then to explore other aspects of these porous materials, and objective 4 maybe to demonstrate that improvement through simple demonstrators. This is just a little point. I always call them by a letter and a number, rather than just 1, 2, 3, and 4, because you may have in your proposal 1, 2, 3, and 4 for something else, and then 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you got a reviewer they're sort of seeing lots of numbers and then trying to keep them in their mind. But if you link them to a letter, if it was risk 1, risk 2, challenge 1, I just give them letters to sort of personalize them, just maybe focus in the referee's mind more. And then so you have your objectives, and then you have your vision, your objectives. To reach your vision, now you need your plan, and so you need your work packages, and so you then need to present your work packages. Now, it seems a bit strange I'm suddenly showing a diagram, maybe, but the work packages help you link to your objectives. So surprise, surprise, work package 1 is a modeling activity. I said that as a key target in my vision, you see. Number 2 is I'm going to develop ways to make these materials. So the reviewer saying, yeah, well, I'm not surprised. This seems sensible. I'm maybe excited by the idea, and this seems a sensible approach. So provide a clear outline of the work packages and also the linkages between the work packages. How do they link together? Again, if you're short on time, if you're pressurized on time, you tend to just write the work packages. But again, remember, the reviewer needs to see how maybe the models lead to the manufacturing processes and how that transfer of data and information back and forth. And I put this picture at the front because very often a proposal, I read through 2 pages of work package descriptions, which is sometimes quite heavy reading, and then they say figure 1 shows the work plan, and I sometimes think, well, I wish I'd seen that at the start, because I could have then imagined how they all linked together before I was reading them, if you see what I mean. So personally, I think this is the work plan image. It's a subtle point, but it's far better to have it up front rather than as a summary at the end to convey this before. And I think do this plan again before writing, because I think my brain is personally quite visual, and so if I can see how they link together, I can see the titles, I can see that image, I can then write about them later. So trying to draw a nice image through something that doesn't really bond together is harder. So I personally do this sort of diagram early and then do the writing. So you create your plan. This is another way to do it. I think sometimes I just generate lots of images thinking about it at an early stage. This is another way to do it. So I have the challenges here that are required, the objectives, which is the sort of challenges, which are really what I want to do, the solution, which is the fellowship in a way, which has the work packages, the impact of this, porous materials, new transducer, new applications, as a fellowship, so some community leadership, and then the applications of sonar, energy harvesting, water splitting, for example, as a porous material. So that's another way to do it. And again, some proposals you have more space and more luxury, others you don't, but you can do it in this way as well. And then you come to the main detail, and again, I try and make it simple. The academic in you will want to put lots of technical detail. I'm not saying you don't have technical detail, you still need some technical detail, but I will put the months in the work package, and I'll put who's doing the work. And some people say to me, Chris, that's why I've got the work plan, but really, do you think the reviewer has maybe printed everything out and is looking at the work plan at the same time? Yes, those numbers are the same as the work plan, but you're making it easy for the reviewer to read through this and understand how these all link together. So again, I have a little bit of text that says what this work package is and how it links to the other work packages as well. And then I have the technical detail of what's going to be done. So I try and help the panelist or the reviewer to go through this. And I also have approach 1 and 2 that has an element of risk mitigation in there as well. And you can see I'm breaking it up with some sections and some figures as well, and an image. And ideally, that's your own image if you're trying to show leadership. So try and get something of your own. If all the images are all by other people, think, well, are you really the best person to do it? You've got to catch up all these people. So give an impression that, yeah, you're in there, you're in the game in a way with that detail. And then this is the second part of that task. So it's the same work package, just number one. At the end, again, I know I have milestones and deliverables on my work plan, but again, I think it's better to have them here as well. Again, it helps with conveying how this all fits together. I have the month that it's going to be delivered. I have a statement. Again, it matches the fact that these are outcomes that fit the objectives that help with the vision. So you can see it's a coherent message throughout. Then you have risks. And again, I think it's very easy to, again, get excited by the research and adding technical detail. But in nearly all the assessment criteria, and certainly if it's specifically asked, you need to address it. But some outline of the risks is important. So a very traditional way to do that is to say that the likelihood, is it low, medium, or high? And what's the impact of it? Is it high, low, medium, or high? And obviously something that has high likelihood and high impact, you need to have a very strong mitigation process. So again, detail the impact of this if the risk occurs and what is your mitigation. So this is a longer table. This is for an innovate type call that's working with industry, which certainly has more risk management in terms of leading to an end product. Another way to do it, if you're short on space, is just to have a little bit at the end of the, let me just minimize that. I'll move it. Sorry, I get too afraid of moving. So another way to do it is to have a little bit of risk management at the end of each work package. Again, so I've outlined here as well. Again, this all depends on space, but I guess the risk, I see a lot when people are sending me their draft applications, the risk tends to be squeezed out because of the need to add more details to the technical details to the work packages. But I think, again, it's worth having elements of this in. It shows this coherency throughout the whole project plan. And this showed this plan again, but actually I thought this was quite clever in a way. It's sort of you outline, you create a project structure which inherently takes into account the risks. So for example, this porous ferroelectrics, I'll do some modeling and I'll make some porous materials based on the model outcome. Work package 3 is very high risk because I was going to turn these porous materials into single crystals through exaggerated grain growth. Now this is very high risk, but this proposal needed this high risk, high gain. But work package 4, which is composites, yes, it could use porous crystals, but I say it could also use these materials in WP2. You see, so the structure inherently has some ability to mitigate risk, especially because work package 3 is very risky. So the danger is you have a whole project that's based like a house of cards, where you have a really high risk work package that feeds into another really high work package with no other option, which feeds into another really high work package. And you think, well, hang on, the probability of getting to the end point is going to be extremely low. And so you can mitigate that by having a project structure. Again, this unfortunately just takes time and effort and thought to work out what is the best structure. But again, this was quite nice in this approach. That's good, 1:30, so I'm fine. I don't need to worry too much. So then you have a work plan. Yes, it will have the durations and the milestones and deliverables on it. So I'm not very good with software, so I just use PowerPoint or Excel or a variant of it. So I'm sure some of you are much better at using some of the sort of project management tools. I guess one danger of those is they can appear quite generic, and so you can't personalize them. But again, I think making it clear is certainly important. So this is one that was linked to this prospect fellowship. This is another one. This is from at the EPOM. sort of EPSRC network. I quite like, I'm obsessed, I don't know, I'm obsessed. So I like conveying the linkages between work packages, because you've got a referee thinking, how is this all going to work together? So again, if this is in PowerPoint or in Excel, or whatever tool, I'm sure you use better tools than me to produce diagrams. Showing the linkages between the activities is good. And then a tip, I think I fell foul of this once, and I've never done it again. So it's very easy to have your tasks running along at the start, and then you have tasks at the end running along. And then when you look in the middle, all the tasks, all the projects, all the work packages are all active. And so I had a referee that said, well, look, if I look at month 20, every work package and every task in the plan is active, and you only have one PDRA researcher. How are you going to do that? And immediately I was on the back foot. So it's an obvious thing, but again, just ensuring to say, well, given the amount of people, how many people and tasks are active at a particular scale. So again, think about it. Don't just draw a sketch and just, there you go, that's a diagrammatic work plan. Reviewers will look at it. They will read it as well. And then again, some need letters of support. And again, it's very easy to leave these to the last minute if you want them. So, and I still do it as well, get writing the proposal and then think, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I had a letter of support from that company that I talked to? And then you start engaging. But it takes time. Certainly some of the bigger companies, they need approval. They can't just send out a letter anymore. They need to speak to their line manager because it's a requirement. So you need that to be done in time. And look at the assessment criteria again. What are they looking from those letters of support? And they shouldn't be just a summary of the proposal, almost the vision, for example. I read with interest your project to look at porosity. I think it's very interesting. It needs to be personalized to that company, to that host, to that academic collaboration, and it needs to confirm and add value to your arguments. Maybe would say, oh yeah, our company makes this many products and this has a potential to do this, not to just say it's a good idea and we like it. So again, that takes time and effort, and you may have to draft something because your collaborator is busy, but again, you need that. They need to add their own personal thoughts to that if you just provide the basic information. Otherwise, I'm not sure it adds much, and if anything, it can be damaging, because if all it is a summary of your abstract, which the referee has already read before, then they say, well, you're making me read it again, and actually, has this person who signed the letter really thought about the benefits? Because all they've done is summarize your proposal. So I think about them with care, and if you have multiple, certainly it's easy for reviewers to spot this. If you have 4 or 5 letters on a very large proposal, and they're all very similar because you've drafted them, again, that is more damaging than beneficial at the end. But think of them as a way to add value, extra information to your project. And then you need the budget. This is the boring bit in a way, but remember, and I'm sure again with your links to universities, and is that university processes now need budget approval, ethics approval. So at Bath, for example, there's a 4-week intention to submit form to fill out. So every university will have different timelines. So they're getting more strict because of the time pressures on applications. And again, it's very easy to do the justification of resources at the end. And again, think of it again as a way to add value to your application. So rather than just saying, you will see, you imagine 2 proposals, both equally good, and one says, oh, I'll go to 2 conferences each year, and then you have another application which identifies the the conference, which highlights the nature of why it's particularly good, why it's particularly important to this project. So this is a way to add more information, not just how much money your need. Likewise, consumables. Oh, I have to look up costs. Can't I just say £5,000 or £2,000 a year? Add detail. And again, if you've got risks and mitigation, so I need this, and to mitigate as the mitigation measure, I need this. So again, it's a way to enhance your application, and maybe some of the technical content that you wanted in your W work package descriptions, you say, oh, I can't use it because I'm low on space. And actually, you can justify why you need it there, and add value rather than it just being a very generic list of how much money you need. So again, this all takes time and effort. It's good. I'm perfect. I think I'll be exactly on time. That's good. So this is a random array of things, sort of tips and myths. Well, I think there's only one myths, but maybe you've got others, and I can add to this if this lecture is of any use. So this is a tip, I guess, rather than a myth. So you can see if you have a reviewer assessing this bit of text as part of a 10-page application or a file, it's quite dense. So the head of department in my department calls this the wall of text, which I think is quite, so so sometimes I see an application, I turn over, you face, and I do slightly think, oh, I've got to trawl through this. So I would personally try to avoid this. Sometimes the referee is reviewing more than one, for example, and application for a call. They might be reviewing multiple applications. So again, clarity is key. So my approach is more to have some signpostings, to break it up with some images, a bit of bold maybe, but again, a comment somebody said to me, well, if you need to make it bold, Chris, to make the person read it, you haven't written it very well. And I think that's a little bit harsh, but you don't want bold everywhere, but a little bit of just signposting. Certainly this is really about the individual outcomes, but again, mixing up the style to just make it more interesting, make it easier to read. Again, people have different brains. Mine is visual, some are more analytical. So you're trying to convey your message across different types of personality types. This is an older one, but this is what I used to use. I haven't used it for a while, but I think it's quite interesting. For a European project, you've got much more space. You've got like 40 pages, and I say, my goodness, how am I going to fill up this? So actually, it was it's a table, and so the first column is actually a thin table, or thin. I can never get columns and horizontal and rows right because I was taught in Welsh. I think it's a column, isn't it? So it's a column on the left. Has almost the assessment criteria, if you see what I mean. So almost having, rather than titles, I've squeezed it a little bit, and I signpost that I'm dealing with specific assessment criteria on the left, or I can make little points and an innovative approach, and that's quite nice. But very often these days you're shorter space. But if you do have space, that's another way to potentially do it. This is my own personal opinion. Avoid too many TLAs, 3-letter and acronyms. So it's very easy as a researcher in your area to know, to get bored of writing out words, if you see what I mean, and to overuse 3-letter acronyms. There's have to be 3 letters, acronyms. And remember, panels and reviewers may be reading multiple applications with multiple acronyms. Yes, if it's machine learning, I guess, or SEM, maybe you don't need to write out. But if it's a little bit unusual, and the worst thing you can do, and I've certainly had reading draft proposals, somebody's used an acronym, and I got to page 7, I was arrested a bit. I came back and I'd forgotten what this acronym was, and it was fundamental to the project. And so I had to look, and yes, I had to look back, but I was made to look back. So you can use acronyms, and the rule is always define your acronym, but it doesn't mean you can't define it again. So if it's in a title, if it's in a figure heading, if it's in an image, I just redefine it again. I just make it easier for the reader. So I'm not saying don't use it, but maybe just try and remind the review, especially if it's a slightly odd one. And certainly don't think your proposal is special. This picture here is a picture of your proposal on a silver plate with a bow. That's not how it appears to the referee or to the panel. It will be in amongst your competitors. So make it easy. Oh, yes, so certainly I've been guilty of this. I've certainly seen other people. I called it pet activities or a side project. So it's maybe something you've always been really interested in, but you could never really get the money to do. So what you do is as you're writing your proposal, you think, oh, I think, can I squeeze somehow my little side project in here? And I'll squeeze in work package 3, task 3.2, and I bet you the reviewer won't notice, and I'll have some funding to do it. And I've certainly done this, and the reviewers always cottoned on and commented on it. Doesn't really fit, and then you're on the back foot. So don't do that. Focus on the project. In reality, if you're funded for 2-3 years, you may have some time to do it anyway, but don't feel you need to squeeze it in to your proposal, because it can detract from ultimately what your proposal is about. So clarity is key. I think that's key. I think this is the only myth, because I think quite an experienced professor sort of said to this to me, it's all random, Chris. It's all random. You just pile in your applications, put them in, and then you'll get like a lottery, buying a lottery ticket. The more lottery tickets you buy, the greater your chance. I don't agree with that. And I've been on panels, and I'm on a panel today, for example, Portuguese panel, and it's all exactly the same. The reality is there's, in a call or in a funding allocation, there's always a small number of just amazing applications. Great idea, great team, great method, and it's just outstanding. But they're actually relatively small, and they are brilliant, and they will get funded, but they will not consume all the funding allocations. Likewise, there'll be a small number of not very well written applications that aren't particularly strong, and they will clearly not get funded. But there'll still be funding available. But the vast majority, because there are a lot of very bright people, hardworking people on the call today that will write their application, and they're all very strong. And the reality is, and they're strong because they have a great vision, they have a great methodology, great track record. But it's here, when you're in that mix, you're not at the very top, you're not at the bottom, you're in the mix. And within the funding allocation, sometimes it's these little things that matter that push you into the funding zone. You won't get it on just the little things, but these little things do count. It's a bit like sort of sport, isn't it? You see people training with sort of making their bike lightweight. It's all these little things that matter that maybe push up. Maybe in that very top, but I always imagine me in trying to get in that middle zone, and then have the quality application to get me into the funded region. That's fine. Some final points. I think you're probably all aware, instead of just listing things, I am a professor and I have this many hundreds of papers and my H-index. There's now a move to more narrative CV. So I think the link is on here. So I'll finish soon. I think the key point is that initially when that came in, I thought it meant you can't use metrics. But if you do have some good metrics, or you have some metrics that state your case, you can state them, but you need to contextualize them. So for example, if you have a paper with a high number of citations, now it doesn't mean it's good, it doesn't assess the quality, but it's an example of reach. So you have to contextualize it, but this will be sent around, and UK-HyRES have a good web page on how you create your resume for research and innovation. And I think of it like an onion, you in the middle, your immediate network on the outer layer, maybe at the university, another layer, which is your engagement outside the university, maybe international, and another layer, which is more things like public dissemination. So I think of it like this sort of onion ring structure. And then responsible research and innovation, trusted research, dual use applications in this current climate. also important. And a lot of it is just demonstrating that you're aware of the potential issues and how you would manage that. So again, there's a lot of information online. It's new to many of us. So the area framework is the thing that comes up a lot there. Panel interviews, practice. So a summary, prepare well in advance, make a coherent story throughout. The big things matter, but also the little things also matter in many cases. I'll finish there.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Wow, it was an amazing presentation.
That's fine. I'm pleased. Well, I'm pleased because I haven't done it before, so I did it for this, so it's good. So any feedback to improve, I'd be welcome.
A lot of information, and I don't think it wouldn't be hard for us to figure out, where we are getting wrong. Like lot of tips, and I really like the way you approach writing a proposal. How you make sessions, how you link each sessions together. The strategies, how to divide that into sections, and using bold figures, schematics. Yeah, there were a lot of things that we need to be very careful about and think before we write our proposal. So it was quite really useful. We actually had only one question in the Q&A, and that you already addressed it. It was about writing bold words within your main test.
Yes,
So
so
let
use
me
it
see.
sparingly. So use it sparingly, I would say. So use it when it's really needed, but don't. Certainly, I've seen some proposals which have bold text, then italics, then underlined, and I'm like, well, what's the most important? And then shading. So keep it simple, have some bold, but only when it's really needed, and not reading bold. Certainly, I find reading a paragraph of italics that's underlined very difficult, if you see what I mean. So use it, but use it sparingly.
So there is another question from George here. What do you do personally in response to a rejected grant? Where do you start? Is there much feedback?
Yes, so I think that's a good point. Certainly in EPSA, you're allowed to respond to the initial comments, and I guess the message there is respond. Try to don't write in an angry way, if you see what I mean, because you'll have this instant response where you're sort of, I can't believe it. I've got that on page 3. So you respond, a bit like responding to a reviewer. You sort of respond coldly in a way, logically, and outline your case. In response to being rejected, and if for EPSRC, at least you maybe had the reviewer comments in advance, but I see now certainly many fellowship applications, because they have so many, you rarely get responses, but you can ask. I think that's certainly one way to do it, to ask if there's any potential feedback, and sometimes you may get a reply. So that's one way to do it. Certainly, there are formal appeal processes as well, so you can outline those issues as well. So certainly, I've responded after an interview. I can tell you my interview story. It was some stage if you want, but I responded personally. But it's also but that's more to make a note for the future, in a way. And I guess the other way, certainly there's some activity at Bath where people have their rejected papers. Do the opposite of this. Rather than showing accepted proposals, they sit down and have their rejected proposal, and maybe without any reviewer comments or without any feedback they ask other people what their thoughts are, and sometimes it does align in a way, and that sort of somewhat makes it. But I think also, unfortunately, I've had much more rejections than acceptance. You have to learn as well from having the comments in a way. So like I said about the diagrammatic work plan, I had a comment once that on gallium nitride sensors, I'd spent ages reviewing, and I said there was only 30 papers in the area for gallium nitride sensors, and the referee said, I searched online and I typed in GaN and sensor, and there were 5,000 papers. But GaN is a surname, so ballistic. So I put it in, but in some ways the damage is so I think clarity is key. Because one reason may be, you know what I mean, it's no means a perfect system. So I spent a lot of time from after seeing some of these to making it as absolutely crystal clear as possible, certain points as well. But it's tough. It's very hard, and certainly it's taken me a long time to recover from some grant applications that haven't been successful.
Yeah. We have another question from Abhishek. How to put information about knowledge dissemination or communication strategy, which are often asked in the embed session of the proposal?
Yeah, that's a good point. No, I think you're right. So on the EPOM porous network, I think we certainly missed a trick, and it was certainly something that was ultimately then in the response letter, is that if you're going to disseminate, again, a bit like the justification resources, rather than saying 2 conferences, rather than saying I will do disseminating activities, provide the details. If it means to list them, or even state the number. So every year I will do a public activity which includes X, Y, and Z. If you see what I mean. So again, maybe it's to avoid generic statements, because it's very easy, certainly with AIs and co-pilots, to provide that detail of the activities. So at Bath, for example, there's a festival of science, isn't it? Or there's a school science activity. You link to those. There's the research cafes. So you provide the context and a little bit of what your institution does to provide that detail, to maybe justify, but maybe some targets. So maybe you could outline how many you will do as well, to again give the assessor a feeling that you've thought about it. I think that's right. Maybe that's something I could add in more if this talk is of interest. Yes.
Another question is, if you have a team of 4, how do you organize the team? Like as a story, or each person for one paragraph, or like?
Absolutely right. So this resume for research and innovation, this onion ring structure, because I think we had a sort of an EPSSC visit in a way, and I think they also acknowledge that this sort of module, where you have module about sort of you, if you see what I mean. Module 2 is about your local network, and module 3 is about your sort of international outward-looking network, and module 4 about wider aspects, public dissemination. So that works very well for an individual, but I think you would follow the modules, and so in module 1, where you discuss you discuss your individual teams, if you see what I mean. So you say the strength of the team, you say how they may be combined together, then you take another layer out, and then you say how demonstrate with activities and examples how your team is engaged more locally, and likewise how your team. So I think you treat it as a team in terms of each module of each layer. That's one way to do it. I think I did one a while ago that was funded, and I was the referee. It seemed more like an old-fashioned CV in a way, and a team structure with the bullet points removed and just created, but it still worked in a way. But maybe to do it like that in terms of the modules that's listed under the UK-HyRES, but do it as the team, individual team itself, local team network, international team network, and other activities. Yeah.
So another question is about how to accelerate our position from the middle into the highest funding region. What do you think about the publication track record in our CV?
Yes. Yeah.
Does it will highly boost our position, or apart from the proposal quality?
Yes, yeah. So I think I always think I'm not going to be at the top. So I think that's right. So I know it's the coherency all the way through. I think this narrative CV, it has moved away from a quantity of papers. If it's, I mean, here's my big list of papers, aren't I? Brilliant. And then what it's more interested in for sort of selling yourself as an individual, it are specific examples of quality, if you see what I mean. So focus on the outputs or the activities that are really that you're proud of, and state that, rather than a big list of activities. So I think focus on that, and maybe therefore target. I think with Dora, there's a move away from just impact factors, but generally, if you aim for higher journals, you spend more time polishing it and crafting it, isn't it? So I think it's a balance, but focus on and find what the papers that you think to demonstrate your quality, rather than a big list. I think that's right. Specific examples of what you've done. That's what the key is now. And there you can include some metrics if you contextualize it. I reviewed, it was from a country in Europe. It was about a PhD, sort of like a CDT, really, for this country. And I think it was very early in this narrative CV, and there was no metrics, very little, and they all were, I said, an expertise, no examples, and it was like 6 pages that didn't actually say a lot. So I think you've got to provide examples, and you can provide specific information to make your case, whether it's a paper or an activity. But it's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Another very relevant question about AI. How to use AI tools to improve and enhance proposal applications? And
Yes.
as a
Yeah.
reviewer, what is the feeling or approach to accept good use of it?
No, that's right. So I started doing an AI slide, but I'm at the stage of my career where I can get to the end without using AI. But I think early career researchers, you can't ignore it. But certainly, I used AI for this presentation to outline, provide, not just create the bullet point, but to outline the area framework in the context of hydrogen. If you see what I mean. So the anticipate. And it was quite good in a way. It told me to maybe to anticipate hydrogen leakage and the impact on the environment. The reflect part was to maybe have some engagement with the local community, so public perception activities. So it was quite good there, just having a discussion with AI. I don't use it to generate text. And I think one danger is I don't use it, but I can recognize it because I like writing. And certainly when it starts to become very sort of average in a way, it has a strange smoothness in a way. So just be careful. But then it needs to be you, if you see what I mean. So use AI, but it needs to be you as well. And I think one danger is if it looks like it's been clearly generated by AI, maybe a referee said, well, is it really your idea as well? So I think use it. I used it in the context to generate some examples, if you see what I mean, for my trusted research or my so I even someone who doesn't really use it, I benefited from it. But I think use it in balance. And certainly I've heard stories of again, this is early, some EU proposals, all the citations weren't real, and actually there was a big issue about it because none of the papers actually existed, and so it's not just they rejected, there were some repercussions as well. So I think use it with care, but certainly try and balance. But it needs to be about you. I think that's the thing. So yeah.
Yeah.
Not a very good
Thanks
idea.
for
Yeah, it's fine. Not a very good answer,
thanks.
but that's the best I could do.
Yeah, a lot going on in AI. Yeah, thanks, Chris.
That's great. Sorry, I have to go. I'm on a panel meeting for Portugal,
Yeah,
so that's
yeah,
fine.
thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks, everyone. If everyone has any feedback, they're more than welcome to email to improve it, if you see what I mean. So thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, so you can use our hub email to write to us about the feedback. We'll pass it to Chris. We will share Chris' presentation to all the participants. And we wish you all the best in your project proposals and in your writings. See you all in the next webinar. Thank you.